Oh my God, guys, did you hear the news? Some dude shot up an Orlando disco. He killed like 50 people. And this is just after last night, that voice singer, Christina Grimmie, she was killed by a fan. Shot too. What's this country coming to? Maybe they should just take all the guns and get rid of all this nonsense. What? Are you crazy? Don't take all our guns. Look, this is a tragedy. But let's not overreact. Let's not overreact? Did you hear what he said? 50 people were killed. And you're saying let's not overreact? You know, I don't know what to say, but clearly, we've got to get rid of all the guns. Let me tell you why. Before you start saying all this Second Amendment stuff, I would like to say, the Second Amendment says a well-regulated militia. Well-regulated. That's not a bunch of crazy people running around with guns. And that's what's happening. You don't need an assault rifle to protect your home. You don't need an assault rifle to hunt. You don't need an assault rifle for competition shooting. So I'm not going after those. Don't start making crazy arguments like that. But we can't have these incidents. There are 10,000 people a year who will lose their lives by a bullet. And it's unnecessary. I say that we should just ban all assault weapons, and that before someone gets a hunting rifle or a handgun, there should be an extensive background check, and if you have any ties to terrorism, mental illness, if you've had a felony, ties to organized crime, or drugs, no gun for you. I think that's pretty reasonable. Let's take Australia, for instance, which had a gun culture. They banned the guns, then they had a buyback program where they bought back 600,000 guns. And not only did crime drop, but suicide rates dropped. How's that not a good thing? Isn't our safety worth this? And before you start talking about freedoms, in the Declaration of Independence, it says life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The first is life. Without life, you don't have any other rights. The dead have no freedom of religion. The dead have no right to bear arms. The dead have no freedom to speak. You must have life first. Well, people are losing their lives, which means they're losing their rights. And it is our job to protect those rights, which means we need to get the guns out of the hands of people who do not use them correctly. Take them all, I say. Take them all. Look, we have a Second Amendment, and as the Supreme Court has ruled, that Second Amendment gives us right to bear arms. Now, you could sit there and say, well-regulated militia, but the document was written over 200 years ago. Well-regulated didn't mean it had to be some highly trained government-sanctioned union. It just meant that you had to be a competent person. Because remember, the purpose of the Second Amendment wasn't just self-defense. The Constitution was written at a time where states valued their independence. They reluctantly instituted a federal government to protect their interests, but they didn't want to give it too much power. They wrote the Second Amendment to leave weapons in the hands of the people so that if the time came where their liberties were being infringed by the federal government, they could resist, violently if necessary. Now, what am I going to do with a musket, a rifle, or a little pea shooter of a handgun? Now, if I've got me an AK-47, hey, government will think twice before it takes away my rights. And so it should. In this world, the people are sovereign. And before you start saying, well, we got to do something to protect people's lives, would you take away people's cars? More people will die from vehicular accidents than handguns. You take away people's cigarettes, right? Well, more people will die from smoking deaths than from handguns. What, you want to take away people's booze? We tried that in this country. Led to the rise of the mob. It's called prohibition. We had to reverse it. It didn't work. Well, I have news for you. Booze causes more deaths than handguns. But you're not trying to take away all those things. In fact, what I think is funny about people like you is that if I want to restrict guns, if I want to restrict booze, if I want to restrict cigarettes, If I want to restrict drugs, you all say, no, 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 no. Reasonable adults should be left to handle their own business. Just take them away from the people who abuse them. But the minute we get the guns, you're like, no, 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 I changed my mind. Let's take them away. The people who are causing the problem are not reasonable gun owners who are trained and own weapons and understand the power of a gun. It's these crazy people. But we don't take away all cars because one guy gets drunk and mows over a bunch of people. Tim McVeigh used fertilizer to blow up the office building in Oklahoma City. We're going to take away fertilizer? I'm all for background checks. I'm all for taking the guns away from people who have been proven to be crazy, criminals, terrorists, and the like. But law-abiding citizens have the right to bear arms, not only for self-defense, to protect their liberties against the government. And the more you try to take my guns, the more I'm convinced that you're the kind of person who would use the government to suppress my rights, which means the more I want to keep my guns. And I should. It's up to me, ultimately, not the government of my state or my federal government. It's up to me to protect my rights. And if I have to do it with an AK-47, then check. That's exactly what I'm gonna do. Dude, to overthrow the government? That's why you want to keep your guns? Why not just ask for a tank? Or a nuclear weapon? Or an F-16? Jeez, you gotta be crazy. That's the kind of thinking that causes these problems. Did you know that the most common terrorist in America is a white conservative? Yeah, you don't see him in the news all the time. We always have this picture of some crazy Muslim. It's not the crazy Muslim. It is people like Tim McVeigh, or those guys in Oregon who took over the compound of the national park. It's crazy people who don't obey the government, and so they get a gun and they cause all kinds of trouble. And then law officers have to deal with these men with all these firepower. We've got drug people walking around with all these firepower. I'm sorry. These guns are too easily getting in the wrong hands and killing innocent people. People are losing their lives. You talk about protecting people's rights and it's up to you? No, my friend. It's up to all of us to protect everyone's rights. Love thy neighbor. Protect his rights. And 50 people lost their lives in a disco because we didn't protect their rights. We allowed some fool to get his hand on a gun and shoot them and kill them. And that can't be allowed. And hey, part of living in community is that you have to give up some rights to protect others. We own cars. We're not allowed to drive willy-nilly anywhere we want down the street. We have to obey the traffic laws. Why? Because if everybody had the right to drive like a crazy man, some of us would lose the ultimate right, our lives. We have houses. We have to adhere to building codes. Why? Because if anybody could build any crazy house they want to and then sold it to somebody else, unbeknownst to them, they could lose their lives when buildings collapse. That happened in olden days. Tom Landry, the great football coach, once said, you cannot have total freedom. You must limit some rights to protect others. We must limit the gun ownership in this country to protect the lives of the innocent. How many Columbines? How many Sandy Hooks? How many discos in Orlando do we need to have before we wake up? And it's not like it hasn't been done in other countries. In Europe, in Australia, they took away the guns and crime went down. Deaths went down. And suicides, don't forget suicide. People making rash, emotional decisions. Shoot, it's all over. But without the gun, they usually resort to pills or hanging, a slower method which gives them time to think and even pull back from the brake. I'm sorry, my friend. We don't need people owning guns. You might make a case for a handgun. You might make a case for a hunting rifle. You cannot make a case that somebody should be allowed to have an assault rifle. The only purpose of an assault rifle is to assault. That's why it is called a assault rifle. There are 300 million Americans in the United States, and you propose we take the rights away of those 300 million Americans. Because what, 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 people do? And look at the ways you want to go about it. There is a bill before Congress that if you're simply suspected of having ties to terrorism, they could come and take your guns. Suspected. The Fifth Amendment of the Constitution guarantees that we will not be deprived of life, of liberty, or property without due process of law. That means it must be found as a matter of fact before a jury or a competent judge that you in fact violated the law and should be deprived of one of those three things because of it to maintain the peace. The simple act of owning a gun does not prove that I'm a dangerous man. And just because somebody may say, well, I think he's got ties to terrorism. I think he's got ties to this. He looks like this to me. Doesn't mean you should come to my house and take away my property. I'm here to protect all rights of all citizens. In fact, there was a town in Virginia where they mandated that everybody had to have a gun. And crime went down. And they interviewed the criminals and they said, well, why? And they said, why would I want to go to a town where everybody could shoot me? Heck no. Even if it's a mistake, they're going to kill me. I'll go rob another town where they ain't got no guns. Think about that. Gun ownership lowered the crime. In fact, just this day on the internet, I read some woman came home, found an intruder in her kid's bedroom. She had a gun. Defended herself and her family. What if she had no gun? How does that work out? I don't want to hear call the police. The police do a great job. I have great respect for the police. But they can't be everywhere. And before you say, well, okay, I'll just take away the assault rifle. My friend, the very reason why you want to take it away is the very reason why I want to have it. The assault rifle is a powerful weapon. As I said, the Second Amendment gives us the right to defend ourselves from having our rights taken away by anyone. You, my neighbor, my state government, my federal government. And if that means I need a powerful weapon that shoots several bullets per minute, then that's what I'm entitled to. A nuclear weapon is not a usable weapon. It's only been used twice. It is a weapon of terror. Even the federal government has it, doesn't use it. No, I'm not going to use, anthrax and mustard gas and crazy things like that. I don't need to. Those weapons are too powerful. The point of a gun is that it's a powerful weapon on its own, but on its own I can't use it to resist all manner of oppression. One man cannot conquer City Hall. But if 10, 20, 50, 1,000 of my neighbors say, hey, what's happening to us is wrong. We need to form a militia and protect our rights. We should have the means to do that. That's what a gun is good for. It's not the most all-powerful weapon, but it is powerful enough to protect our rights. That's why the framers allowed us to have it, and that's why I want to have it. Simple. Our founding fathers never conceived that people would own anything like an AK-47. They were thinking about a musket ball. Hey, you want the right to own a musket? That'll be great. I can see it now. You're in a disco going, oh, wait, stay still, I'm going to kill you. Okay, here we go. Hey, you want to have one of those? You go do it. Because that's what the founding fathers intended, that you get a musket or a revolver. They never foresaw modern weaponry, and so you shouldn't be allowed to use that amendment to have modern weaponry. Sorry, pal, that don't pass muster. Our founding fathers never envisioned Barack Obama being president, Hillary Clinton being president. They never envisioned, transatlantic flight. They never envisioned Muslims coming here and using the First Amendment. Our founding fathers, look, they wrote a nice document, but they were very limited, bigoted, selfish men. They didn't envision a lot of things. But we have an amendment process. If you want to change the law, you amend it. We didn't like the fact that blacks could be treated as property, so we amended it. We didn't like the fact that women couldn't vote, so we amended it. You don't like the fact that we're holding guns? Go amend the Constitution. They could have easily wrote the right to bear a musket. They didn't say musket. They said arms. Because they knew, these weren't stupid men, they may have known that They may not have known what kind of weapons would come, but they had to know that weapons change over time. They knew that one time we had swords and bows and arrows, and now we had muskets. And in the future there'll be something else. That's why they wrote arms, a general category to encompass all kinds of weaponry now and in the future. It's in the Constitution. I have that right. I'm a law-abiding citizen, and I'm not the one going around killing people. Take away the rights of the people who are abusing those rights, but leave the rights of the people who aren't alone. What do you think? Look, I don't know. You tell me. What do you think? Should we leave things are they now? That people could own whatever kind of gun they want with just a minimal amount of a background check? Or do we need more restrictions or a total ban? Leave your comments below and tell us what you think. And thanks for listening to another Bagman Debate.